Welcome to the City of Plantation's 2020 Virtual Memorial Day service. We come together today to honor all of those who have fallen in battle to preserve our way of life. And we proudly say as a nation, we remember. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. Please rise for the presentation of colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, said by Kylie and Mackenzie Oskinkowski from Girl Scout Troop 10766, and the National Anthem sung by Adelina Marianello from American Heritage School.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. I'm Shannon Ryan with the Parks and Recreation Department. Please welcome Plantation's Mayor, the Honorable Lynn Stoner.
Welcome everyone. I'm Lynn Stoner, Mayor of the City of Plantation. And in the first time in the city's history, we're presenting our Memorial Day service in the virtual platform that seems to have become the norm for a means of communication. We find that every crisis has new heroes. During the 9/11 attacks, they were the first responders running into burning and crumbling buildings as others ran out. Now, during the coronavirus pandemic, the most visible heroes are the healthcare professionals who are saving others and risking their own lives while doing so. These heroes have much in common with the people that we honor today, America's fallen veterans. They are men and women who have sacrificed their own lives so others could live. They are both elite and ordinary. They are elite in the sense of character. Giving your life so others could live is the ultimate definition of selflessness. They are ordinary in the fact that they represent the diverse fabric of our country, the rich and poor, black and white, male and female. They come from every ethnicity and background. In short, they look like any one of us. As we celebrate the selflessness and untiring performances of the healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic, it brings to mind the military medics, doctors, and nurses who sacrificed their lives while treating others in the battlefield. The military has heroes in every occupational field. Truck drivers, cooks, administrative clerks have all paid the ultimate price. At sea, on land, or in the air, military service requires great risk. Approximately 1 million men and women of the U.S. military have lost their lives in defense of our nation since the founding of this great republic. Not all have died from enemy fire. Some have died from diseases that have too often festered around war zones. Oftentimes, deaths from disease and accidents outnumbered casualties caused by enemy weapons. The flu would kill nearly 16,000 U.S. soldiers in France during World War I. Another 30,000 American service members died in stateside camps. These men and women could have isolated safely in their homes, but they knew they had an important job to do, a mission to accomplish. They were all on a mission to serve. Even when the enemy is an invisible virus or a microscopic germ, the sacrifices made are just as meaningful. The U.S. military has already lost service members to COVID-19. This Memorial Day, as we continue to honor those who fell for us in battle, let's also pause to remember those who have also sacrificed their lives while serving others. May God bless them, may God bless you, and for remembering them here today. I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And also joining us today are Council President Nick Sortel and Council President Pro Tem Denise Horland.
Hi, I'm Nick Sortel, Plantation City Council. I want to wish everybody a meaningful Memorial Day. I am actually at Veterans Park where we all usually gather, and you can tell it's empty, but I wanted to take some time to talk about the people on this wall and what it means here in Plantation. Right here, of course, we have Plantation Sunrise, dedicated to veterans who gave their yesterdays in order to save our tomorrows. Over here we have the main wall of more people who have served. Over here are the Seabees and the Merchant Marines, and at the end is the Jewish war vets. These people did a lot for our city, and I would like to say thank you to you and your families, but that's kind of a hackneyed line, because really when you think about it, this is our family. Everybody in Plantation here is kind of the same in that we all went to the same grocery stores, our kids went to the same schools, and we're all part of Plantation. Right here is a huge part of Plantation's story. So I hope everybody has a meaningful Memorial Day, like I said, and thank you everybody who had something to do with service to our city. Thank you.
April 1st, 1945, Easter Sunday. It was 75 years ago that my then 19-year-old father, Edward Appleby, waded ashore the beachhead of Okinawa along with the rest of the 6th Marine Division. It was a force larger and more powerful than D-Day. By May 16th, the Marines had captured 2/3 of the island, including a 2-day battle to take Sugarloaf Hill, but it came at a great cost. In what was described as one of the bitterest days of the Okinawa campaign, 576 Marines lost their lives. It was the last great island battle before the planned invasion of Japan, and it would be the bloodiest of the Pacific campaign. My father is 94 now. Advanced age is slowly robbing him of both his short and long-term memory, but at night, while he sleeps, the friends he left behind still vividly haunt his dreams. They fought for our democracy, they died for our freedom. How can we possibly ever express our gratitude for the incredible sacrifice they made? Each of us can make them a promise to ensure that we never forget the principles that they fought and died for. A promise to never take our vote for granted. A promise to hold our leaders accountable to protect our nation from foreign aggression. A promise to ensure that every citizen is afforded the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A promise that their sacrifice was not in vain. It is up to each of us to remain vigilant while they rest in eternal peace. I hope that very soon we will be able to gather once again at Veterans Park to be able to honor the brave men and women who have served our country and who have sacrificed so greatly. Until then, I wish you and your family a healthy and safe day of remembrance.
Thank you, council members. I would now like to introduce our elected officials who are gracious enough to join us today by video. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, State Senator Lauren Book, Florida State Representative Bobby Dubose, Broward County Vice Mayor Steve Geller, Broward County Commissioner Nan Rich, and Broward County Property Appraiser Martin Kerr.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and this Memorial Day, it's my honor to pay tribute to those Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect and preserve this great democracy. These brave men and women fought valiantly so their fellow Americans can enjoy the freedoms and liberty we so dearly cherish. It's too easy to get caught up in the rush of our daily lives and overlook their constant vigilance and supreme sacrifice across the entire globe. They fought fascism, tyranny, and oppression, forces that still rear their ugly head today. They sacrificed their lives so you and I can enjoy so many freedoms that, frankly, we all too often take for granted. They did not come home to their families, friends, and communities. We must never, ever forget their sacrifices. Every generation has fought to preserve our freedom and defend our ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And every generation has lost young service women and men in that effort. This one will be no different. So on Memorial Day, we pause to honor the ultimate sacrifice paid by so many. We honor them by remembering, and we honor them by vowing never to forget that through their sacrifice, our democracy lives on. This critical remembrance is too often underappreciated in so-called normal times, but amid this challenging moment we're living through, that sacrifice can be even more easily overlooked or underappreciated. This COVID-19 pandemic is a once-in-a-century event that has dramatically changed our lives in the last couple of months. Tens of thousands of American lives have been lost since this coronavirus struck, dying alone, without their loved ones around them. And tens of millions of jobs have disappeared in that same time too, every one of them haunted by a family in financial duress. Congress must take further action, of course, to ensure we put families first, and do it now. I'm proud that as chair of the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriations Subcommittee, we were able to include nearly $20 billion to ensure veterans' health care needs are met in the CARES Act, whether that's at the VA or local ERs and clinics. Of course, in a historic crisis like this, that will not be enough. Again, in the HEROES Act, the House just passed, I'm proud that this bill prevents veterans from being burdened with copays or cost sharing for COVID-19 preventative treatment or services, and includes critical protections for VA healthcare professionals. As we mourn the military personnel who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces, let us not forget that the nation they fought for owes their families and those who serve them and serve after them the deepest debt of gratitude. And that means looking out for their health and well-being. All Americans deserve that much from their government, but especially those who serve in our armed forces. As I have seen throughout my time in public service, each day presents new opportunities for progress, but there are also new challenges that threaten this great democracy. Our veterans know better than anyone that vigilance and sacrifice are a constant cost of freedom and liberty. I know that all of you would proudly stand shoulder to shoulder with today's soldiers because you love this country and what it represents. As your representative in Congress, I will always stand by our veterans and honor the service of the fallen and those who continue to serve. John F. Kennedy once said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." This Memorial Day, let us not only remember the sacrifices of our fallen heroes, but renew our vow to stand by our veterans now and always. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Senator Book here. On this Memorial Day and every day, we thank the brave men and women who made and paid the ultimate sacrifice to defend our freedom. These are difficult times, but we will persevere. There is still much to be thankful for as Americans. I want to remind anyone who is struggling right now that our plantation community is here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help, because help is available. Please stay safe and healthy. And again, thank you to all those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom.
Hello, I'm Representative Bobby DuBose. We speak about freedom and liberation. However, how many of us truly understand what they are? Freedom is defined as a quality of being frank, open, outspoken, or the liberation from the power of another. Patriotism is that feeling or that love that one has for his or her country. These are precious values. Ironically, they come with a high price. How many of us are willing to sacrifice our lives for these values? How many of us are willing to serve a nation that once denied them citizenship? How many of us are willing to protect our borders from threats seen and unseen? All gave some gave all. That's why I ask all of you to remember today and every day the sacrifices of those men and women who have fought to make sure the United States is the best nation on earth. It is with humble respect and gratitude that I salute those men and women today. Thank you for your service. God bless, and may you rest in peace.
I'm Broward County Vice Mayor Steve Geller. I was first elected to the Florida legislature 32 years ago. During that time, I've given dozens of Memorial Day speeches, although none under circumstances like this one. I normally make reference to the Gettysburg Address given at the dedication of a national cemetery by President Lincoln in 1863. I talk about General John Logan's role in its creation. As you can see, I've grown a beard in honor of President Lincoln today. I talk about the sacrifice of so many brave men and women who gave their lives that this nation might live. I frequently quote parts of the Gettysburg Address, especially the famous last line. My undergraduate degree is in history, and I see the nation as divided today as any time since the United States Civil War. I reread the Gettysburg Address, and it inspired me again. I decided that the best, most inspiring speech that I could give in these divided times was to reread the Gettysburg Address aloud, and that's what I've done for the last several years on Memorial Day. I'm going to do that now, confident that we will prevail in today's turmoil, just as we did in the 1860s. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far beyond our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be here dedicated to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave that last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Thank you, and I wish everyone, especially those veterans who fought for this country, and in honor of the families of those who died for this country, I wish all of you a good Memorial Day.
Each Memorial Day, we pause to remember and honor the men and women who died while serving in our armed forces, protecting and preserving our freedoms. They and their families have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Even though, due to the coronavirus, we are not able to gather in person this year, we can still take time to honor our troops and reflect upon the meaning of Memorial Day. This year marks the 152nd anniversary of Memorial Day, which was designated in 1868 after the Civil War to recognize soldiers who had died in the only conflict which Americans fought each other on U.S. soil. Later, the holiday sadly had to be extended to commemorate losses of our service men and women in many other conflicts. We are indebted to the courageous men and women who have fought from Yorktown to Gettysburg, to Flanders Field, to the beaches of Normandy, Iwo Jima, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf, Iraq, and Afghanistan. In our country's 244-year history, more than 1.2 million of our fellow Americans gave their lives on battlefields around the globe. Because of their sacrifice and heroism, we live in the greatest democracy in the world. We enjoy freedoms not enjoyed by authoritarian countries around the world, and sometimes taken for granted or sometimes threatened right here at home. Freedom of speech, press, religion, and of course the precious right to vote. Today we honor the memory of those who died, but we also pay tribute to those who survived and had their lives changed forever so that we might live in freedom. We are a stronger, safer nation because of all their sacrifices. We can never say thank you enough, but we can, as individuals and our government collectively, show our thanks and appreciation by ensuring that veterans live their lives with the dignity and respect they have earned and the health care and support they deserve. Florida has the third largest population of veterans in the U.S. with over 1.6 million vets. Nearly 800,000 veterans in Florida are 65 years or older. Florida has the third highest population of disabled veterans in the United States with more than 235,000. With so many veterans in Broward County, we are very fortunate to have many supportive programs. One such program is the Broward Veterans Treatment Court. Many veterans return home with mental health or substance abuse issues connected to the trauma of combat. The Veterans Treatment Court serves as an alternative to the traditional court setting and was developed to avoid unnecessary incarceration of veterans who would otherwise end up in the criminal justice system. United Way's Mission United supports veterans and their families as they reacclimate to civilian life. In the past 5 years, they have assisted over 10,000 vets with employment services, legal assistance, education, financial services, health, and housing. United Ways across the country have adopted this wonderful program, which began right here in Broward. Broward County Veterans Services is another invaluable resource. Our professional Veterans Services officers, who are veterans themselves, guide veterans and their dependents through the benefits process. Last year, we served more than 11,000 Broward County residents, filed more than 2,500 veterans benefits complaints, and received awards in excess of $12 million on their behalf. We can truly be proud of our country's commitment to those who have served and sacrificed. These past few months we've been fighting a different kind of war. Not just in America, but around the world. It has hit the elderly and veterans especially hard. Many have stayed at home and self-isolated in order to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. As we cautiously begin the phase-in of reopening of Broward County, it is important to remember that we have not conquered the coronavirus. We can help each other keep safe by observing the CDC recommended guidelines for social distancing and wearing face masks in public places. We are all responsible for each other. On this Memorial Day, I believe it is so important that we all think about inclusiveness and unity. The soldiers who died and those who returned are not thought of as black or white, male or female, native-born or immigrant, Democrat or Republican. They are all Americans. They were fighting so that we might live in freedom and peace. Our nation has been a destination of choice for great waves of immigrants from the world's most frightening and repressive nations. Let us use this Memorial Day to rededicate ourselves to our democratic way of life and to protecting the American freedom and civil liberties we cherish. Greater participation in the process of government at all levels, informed voting, keeping in touch with your elected officials, writing letters to the editor, serving as a mentor for a young person. These are all ways in which we can honor those we have lost, those who survived their military service, and those who are fighting today, not just on Memorial Day, but each and every day throughout the year.
Hi, I'm your Broward County property appraiser, Marty Kerr, and I'm here with my two young daughters, Brianne and Cameron. And we wanted to thank the brave women and men who gave their lives so that we could live in the greatest country on earth. You know, those women and men had dreams. They dreamed of being husbands and wives, mothers and fathers. Many had families at home who they dreamed of getting back to. They also dreamed of having successful careers and living long lives. But they gave up their dreams so that all of our dreams could come true. And Memorial Day is such a special holiday. Many of us will be at home with our families. Many people will have barbecues, and we'll be spending time together. But we always need to remember the real reason for Memorial Day, and that's to remember the brave women and men who made the ultimate sacrifice so that you and I can be free and live in the greatest country on earth. Have a blessed and safe Memorial Day.
Thank you all for your videos. At this time, we ask you to please stand for the placement of the memorial wreath, followed by a moment of silence. Please be seated. At this point in the service, we would like to take a moment to recognize the veterans watching with us today. Thank you for your service. We'd also like to thank everyone who participated in our virtual program. The mayor, city council members, elected officials, Adelina Marianello, Girl Scout Troop 10766, the Plantation Fire Department, Plantation Parks and Rec, and the Plantation Police Department. This concludes our Memorial Day service. Let us keep our current defenders serving throughout the world in our thoughts and prayers, and let us not forget the individuals we honor here today who made the ultimate sacrifice.